Hello guys and welcome back to another faction overview guide for the Lord of the Rings Total War mod for Rome Remastered. Today we'll be talking about Dale, and I will say I'm very pleasantly surprised. I was a little skeptical about the Dale faction, just because of my experience with Divide and Conquer's Dale faction. It wasn't really my favorite campaign in that mod, but with this mod, I'm very pleasantly surprised. And I just want to take a little bit here too, and thank you all for those who have subscribed and keep supporting the channel. Thank you very much. And before I get into it, just in case you're still thinking about whether or not you want to subscribe, I just urge you to just kind of take that plunge and go ahead and support the channel. And stick around. I think we're on the verge of something really cool here, and I'm excited to see all of you kind of just join the ride here with me. But without further ado, I'll just briefly go over the 4 things I'll talk about, and then we'll dive on to the video. So the first thing we'll talk about is the initial provinces or towns you start out with, and then their locations. Secondly will be the initial army or armies you start out with. Thirdly will be the economy, and then lastly is just my opinion on some expansion tips that I would recommend when you start your own campaign. So without further ado, let's go into the first section here, which is the 2 provinces that we start off with, which we have Dale and Laketown. Dale really has a really good opportunity to have a really strong start. If we look into their building tree, they can only go up to tier 3, which, don't think that, only because they can go up to tier 3 that is a bad thing. Because they do have some tier 4 buildings that will require, taking like Erebor or just some other cities that are leveled up, just off the top of my head, Minister with Rohan, that kind of thing. But tier 3 isn't a bad thing. Because if you think about it this way, once you get to tier 3, that means the best units you can get are at tier 3. So don't just look at that. If you're looking at the building browser, and like wow, they don't really have much to go on. They hit 6,000 population. You can get it to their highest tier. It's definitely not a weakness. If anything, it actually plays into Dale's strengths a little bit. But you do have 2 really good cities to start out with. You have Dale and Laketown that are right by each other, right along a little lake here, obviously. You got good public order, good growth, a good amount of population. That way you can start building your armies. You got a good, despite, the negative income, you actually do have a pretty good foundation for a strong economy. Mainly just because of the starting location of where you're at. If we look down here, we're already trading with Erebor and the Iron Hills. Obviously, won't actually be getting any trade with the Free Peoples or Eredlun yet because we don't border them. But we already border Erebor, so we're already trading with them, making some money. Once we border the Iron Hills, it'll get some more money, and then we can also use our diplomat and send him over here to Thranduil, and get some good relations with him and get some trade agreements there. So they're really, it's just a really good centralized position, and really it's a safe location where you're not going to have to worry about being under threat right away. Because you have Erebor, just here to the north, but if Gundabad was ever to really push over this way, Erebor is going to be the first line of defense. To the southwest, you're going to have Thranduil, expanding to the south here, protecting you against Mordor, and then the Iron Hills are protecting you against Rhûn. So really, it allows for your armies to kind of pick up a lot of these rebel settlements. I do apologize about the noise there. That was my doggo, Cash, but it kind of brings us to our second part of the video, which is the army you start off with. So because of their position, in the map itself, you actually start off with a really, sizable army. obviously you're not going to take all of your army out because of public order issues, but you'll have essentially 7 units there, which you can take out. You'll have 6 more out of here, so that's 13. Plus you got 4 here. So, I mean, you almost have a full stack on turn 1, which is why your income is so rough to start with. Which we can... Oh, sorry, wrong button. Which, you can look at the income here as well, on where you are making your money, if you want to dive into that. But really, like, if you check out the Dale's unit guide that I've published on my channel, Dale has, although their highest tier units are technically tier 3, their units are really good. The Bardian archers are really good. The Dalian bowmen are amazing. I mean, their infantry can hold the line really well. Their Knights of Dale can, smash against the enemy. So even though, like, you obviously only have less than 3 turns to kind of fix your economy, or else you'll, start going negative. It's really, like, don't freak out and be like, oh, shit, like, I'm gonna go bankrupt in a few turns. The good thing is, like, you have the army to conquer some settlements. Whether you want to go north and then northwest and try and beat Erebor, or go to the southeast here or go southwest, depending on which route you go. You have a lot of rebel settlements in these regions, which you'll be able to see in the expansion part of the video later on. But again, the good thing is you have the army already, so it's not like, you have 5-10 units total and your economy is that bad and you need more troops to, conquer some territory to fix your economy. Because even if I adjust, because what's it at right now? 2,100. So even if you were to raise all the taxes to high, it shaves off about 1,000 just with taxes. And other than Lake Town, Dale being at tier 3, like, you don't really need it to grow anymore unless your population is really starting to decline. But other than that, I mean, your army, it's pretty good. You got a good amount of archers. You got some cav units, or a cav unit available. And you got 3 generals. So really, Dale has, just don't like kind of turn away from them and think like, oh, like they don't really have a strong campaign. They really do, in my opinion. Their army is definitely capable of, plowing through quite a few settlements before you may need to return to replenish, or you're just getting stretched too thin a little bit. And by that time, conquering some settlements will help your income as well, just because you'll be taxing more people. Which actually brings to our third part of the video, which is the economy. Other than, again, if I lower these taxes just so you guys see what you will start off with when you start a campaign. Other than the, negative income right from the get-go, Dale's economy, is kind of like any other one in the game. Like, once you get the ball rolling a little bit, you'll be pretty much rolling in cash. But a lot of their settlements have access to roads, which will improve your army's like campaign movement range, as well as increasing. Sorry, wrong button. Increasing your trade. They also, trading posts. They like farms. They call it the open field system. So even though there it does say a negative. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong buttons. A negative tax income bonus. You're still making money because you're farming. So there, obviously 74 minus 40 is still 34. Plus, you're getting a population growth bonus. So it'll go from, if we look at the previous one, so it's going to keep increasing by 0.5 percent. And even though it has that negative 2% income bonus right from the get-go, the more people you're taxing will overcome that. Overcome that deficit quite quickly. And some of the areas too have the House of Healing, which also increases population growth. The typical military buildings, one will provide public order, one provides trade income bonus, which, being with Dale, being centralized with an ally to the west, to the north, and to the east, and potentially on how far you expand, connecting with the free peoples and meeting with them, your trade income can get pretty significant really quickly. So I mean, other than that, I mean, it's your typical kind of economy. I would highly recommend, focusing on the economy infrastructure first in your settlements, just because you do start off with 17 units that you can freely move around and attack areas with, so you don't need the army infrastructure right from the get-go. What you need is economy buildings. So, trading posts, roads, farms, that kind of thing. And the biggest thing that you really need to pay attention to with Dale early on is using this settlement income button and just clicking through the various economy buildings that you can produce and see how much they are going to affect your income. Because really early on, other than conquering, a settlement or two here and there, which will help offset your negative income pretty fast, you also want to build the economy buildings in your settlements that, from the get-go, have the biggest impact to your economy to start with. So, just something to, again, kind of keep your eye on. Don't forget to use the settlement income button, which again is just right down here. Just so as I'm clicking here, you can see, it says increasing trade by 100%, and then it shows me the increase there. So, likewise with the farm building from earlier, you can see what it's going to increase, but also what it's decreasing because of the negative tax income bonus there. But moving on to our last part of the video, which is the expansion opinions that I have for the faction. Really, you don't want to go too far north. Yes, you can get mines, but mines are not really where Dale thrives. Really, you should only really strive for mountain regions to get minerals like that if you're playing as a dwarven faction. Yes, every faction can build mines to a certain extent, but it's not going to just save your economy. Highly recommend, to a certain point, conquering this juicy area right here. Because, Rune will expand. They'll expand here, but the Iron Hills, for the most times I've played Dale, the Iron Hills will gobble up a few of these, but just right here you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 settlements right here, and you're still not going to be bordering an enemy. Worst case scenario, you take a defeat and you're still able to conquer 4, maybe 5 settlements here. Just be careful when you're pushing out into the North Watch and just south here, because these garrisons do start getting a little beefier. And you don't want to come in here with a weakened army and then, losing a fight and then potentially having Rune right on your doorstep. It's unlikely to happen at this stage, but you never know, especially if you're not playing with the Fog of War off and you don't see what the enemy is doing. Just something to be on the lookout for, but the reason I recommend this area here is it's just where Dale flourishes. Coming into the trees here, you're more likely than not going to be fighting against the Sylvan Elves for that territory, and really you don't need to come in here, because then you're going to border Mordor, and then even though the enemy is passive right now in the game, as soon as you border them, they do start beefing their armies up in that area. So if you play any campaign, you get to turn 50 and you take the Fog of War off, Gondor and Mordor just have piles of armies sticking around. But when I've played as Mordor, for example, Gondor actually uses those armies to attack you. It's just because you border them. And likewise, when I start a Lothlorien campaign and I take this settlement, Lag Throgrim, Moria gets a little more aggressive. So from what I've seen, I don't know if it's scripted to be like that, but it does appear to me anyway that as soon as you actually border a major faction that is your enemy, they do get a little more aggressive with coming to attack you, especially if you leave a settlement with 1 troop in it or something like that. but yeah, so Southwest I wouldn't recommend. This is your moneymaker right here, in my opinion, because again, trying to beat the dwarves to these settlements up here, it's just not important. Because then you're also taking the chance if Rune is to beat back the Iron Hills and your army is to the northeast here or to the north and northwest. I mean, you're not going to get back in time. And it's not as easy and as simple as, just recruiting an emergency army, in the area to go and to wipe them out. You're just not going to have the means to do so. But that is the faction overview guide for Dale. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I appreciate the support. Probably more than you guys know. It's been a great few months, and I'm very, very excited to see what the channel can continue to do. So again, thank you for your support. Don't forget to leave a like, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.